cast a spell on him. Okay, not a good spell. And a week later, my friend wrapped the car around a telephone pole, and that was the end of my friend.
Jeez. Wow. That's a heck of a way to come across that. Woof.
So, I mean, there's a lot of strange, unaccountable things out there. I mean, I do think if there's devil worshippers out there, and then I guess there's a witchcraft out there that, you know, unless you do something wrong to them, they believe in not hurting people.
Yeah, there's, you know, it's like anything else. There's good and bad in everything. It's just, now, with that said, you're more likely to find bad in some things than you are good, but that's just life in general, I reckon, you know, basically. You just got to watch what you're doing. And I got to tell you something, Gary, there was a lot of life lessons there with your first marriage. I could see. Like, you might want to know him a little longer than a couple of weeks and stuff like that, which I'm sure you've learned.
Well, you know, I hate to say it. I was at a young age, you know, she was attractive.
Yeah.
She was a former Miss Washington, you know, and, you know, I didn't know the difference between lust and love. So,
yeah, well, there was a life lesson that you learned. That was one.
Yeah. And I learned to, you know, looks isn't everything. Personality and compatibility, you know, and friendship is the most important thing.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something. And now, day and age with technology, that may be a harder thing to come across than you think.
Oh, yeah. You know, another thing, because it's still Halloween, you know, I would hate, have you ever had I had this dream one time. I was out in my car, and, you know, I was out in the middle of nowhere, and I only had a half a tank of gas. It was late at night. You know, I run out of gas. I pull off to the side of the road, and I see all these, like, red eyes staring at me. Now, have you ever had any weird, scary dreams?
Let me tell you something about a dream. I'm going to tell you a dream I had that I think about all the time. I was on vacation. I'm visiting down in New Orleans. I'm at this bar drinking. You know, it was Fat Tuesday, having a good time. Next thing I know, I wake up chained to a chair. And, you know, I'm a little groggy. Somebody had done slipped me something, you know, so I'm trying to clear my eyes, and I'm looking, and across from me is this couple, this man and this wife. And they got this real, you know, kind of devious grins on their face looking at me. And I'm like, what the, you know, I'm getting my senses. I'm like, what's going on here? And I go to move, and I'm chained to this wooden chair. So I'm like, what's going on? And they just they didn't really say nothing, you know. And then I hear this noise. And here comes this, like a, I don't know, toddler maybe, year and a half old baby, so to speak, coming down these steps. And it's a little baby boy, and he's got a bottle in his hand. And he keeps, you know, he's wanting the bottle filled. You know what I mean? He's making these weird noises, wanting the bottle filled. And the refrigerator's right beside me. That I'm in a chair, chained in a wooden chair, but I'm sitting beside this refrigerator. And the father says, "You want to reach over there and and fill his bottle?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I open the refrigerator, and in this refrigerator, Gary, there's no milk. It's blood. There is blood in this refrigerator. And I think, and these are vampires, and I've got to they got a little vampire baby. And they want me to fill this bottle up. So I'm like, I've got a gambit of thoughts going through my mind. I'm like, what is going on here? I've got to make it spells doom for me. I've got to make a move. So anyway, the baby's right there. So I, in one motion, break the chair and grab the baby. And I've got this baby, and I've got the wooden leg. When I broke the chair, I grabbed it, and I've got it held up to the heart of the baby. And I'm like, look, I'm getting out of here, or this baby's going to get it. And so the vampire parents, they back off, let me to the door. Now, I wasn't going to kill the baby, but I don't want to kill nobody, but I sure as heck don't want to be somebody's, feeder for a while either. So I open up the door, and the sun is just peeking up over the corner, so I let the baby down, and I jump out the door, because I honestly didn't know where this was going, but this was a hell of a nightmare. This drug on longer than it sounds, but I got to tell you, I still think about it. That dream was 25 years ago, and wow, it really got me when I opened that refrigerator, nothing in there but blood. I was like, oh Lord, it was bad.
Well, that's almost as bad as if you're going out like on a second date with some beautiful girl, and she invites you over her apartment, and she's cooking dinner, and she says, hey, get whatever out of the refrigerator, and you open the refrigerator and you notice a couple packets of blood laying on its side in there, and you start wondering what is going on here, and then you start noticing some of her photos on the wall or her artwork is kind of, you know what I'm saying, kind of on the dark side, and you go, oh, okay, maybe I'm dessert. Hey, I left something in my car. I'm going to go get it. I'll be right back. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'll tell you something else. I went to a house one time. Back when I was about 20 years old, I worked for this company, and I had a booth at the fair, and what we would do, we had a prize was given away, and people would fill it out, their name and address to win this prize. Well, we would give out the prize, but also there would only be one winner. But all them cars that we would use them as leads to call up and go to their house and try to sell them something. So I called this one lady up and said, you didn't win the grand prize, but we have a daily prize for you. It was like a little perfume set or something. Can I deliver it to you and show you my product? She said, yeah. So I get there. When I walk in the house, Gary, and this was, I think, about 1986. I walk in the house, and I've been studying paranormal, been in paranormal for a few years. Not a lot, but about 3 to 4 years in. But I knew enough. And when I got in there were, I knew right away I'd walked into a witch's den because there was pentagrams wall to wall on the ceilings, on the ground, on the floor. They were everywhere, and black candles and all kind of bizarre stuff all over the house. And
was there crystal? Was there crystal?
I pretty much said, hey, you know what? I forgot my little kid out in the car, and I went out in the car, and I never came back. I was like, I got to get out of here. I know I probably prejudged, but listen, like, hate me for that instead of mourning me later down at the cemetery. That's the way I looked at it.
Now, this is totally non-Halloween, but you just refreshed my memory on something going back 40 years ago. Me and my wife made a mistake. She saw this thing on TV for a timeshare. If you go out and it was up in Issaquah, Washington, or something like that. Maybe it was Squamish or whatever it was. And, they give you a tour of this timeshare and all this stuff. It's supposed to be no high pressure. But, they'll give you a black and white TV for doing it. That tells you, 40 years ago, it was not colored, black and white, portable TV.
It was black and white, yeah.
Black and white TV, and we happen to need a TV. So we went to this timeshare, right?
Yeah.
And we had our first child, and then they got mad because I wouldn't sign this contract to buy a timeshare that I could use maybe like 4 weekends out of the year. And I'd have to take a second mortgage out on whatever I owned to buy it. And
just for 4 weekends.
Yeah, and so I noticed they were only giving TVs, to the people who actually signed the contract, but it said, go to it, go for the whole thing, right? You get a free TV. So they kind of made some excuse. Well, we'll have to see if we can get more. And I go, we got a whole stack of them over there. And everybody who signs a contract is getting one. So right about then, one of my kids had to go potty. So my wife, took him to the car, to change the diaper. And I said, wait a minute. We're going to go back in there and sit. Okay? But don't change his diaper.
My God.
Yeah, and so we went back, and it took maybe a half an hour, and they were more than happy to give us 2 TVs to get us to leave.
Oh, that was a good one.
Oh, honest for God truth. And
I believe you.
And then we talked to the Attorney General's office at the time, and they said, "Oh yeah, they've been scamming people for a long time. You know, we're building up a case." And they said, "They said, well, I bet you didn't get your TV." And I go, "Oh, by the time we left, we got 2 of them, one for my wife and one for me."
You got 2 of them.
Well, you know why? Because here it was in their signing room with all these people, you know, and and they had their food there, you know, buffet, and right, and this diaper was so ripe, you know, they just, they just wanted us out.
Oh boy, yeah, they've got to get it. If all it cost them was a couple black and white TVs to get you guys out of there, it was worth it to them.
Oh, it was worth it to me. Not really. You know, I almost signed it, but then I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a stupid, people buying timeshare like that. I mean, that was really popular back then, and I guess it was up to a few years ago, but a lot of people got burned on it big time.
Well, it was, and then you got in the 80s, it was pretty much timeshares for condos and stuff. They would same principle. They would give you something or rather, and you basically were, like you say, you signing away a mortgage for a couple of weekends if you were lucky.
Yeah, but then you also had to pay their maintenance fee. You had to pay for all this stuff. It was crazy. Yeah. And okay. And how many people had title to that one little condo?
One little space.
Yeah,
one little space in a building.
100 different people.
That was an amazing concept. How did they ever get people hooked on that? I tell you. And the guy that owned the one building he's the one that really made out like a bandit. He's living in an island somewhere.
Yeah. And then I guess probably later on they were giving colored TVs, and as the time involved to get people enticed, Anyway, on your show next, who do you have?
Oh, yes. Oh, tomorrow night I have Erica, and I know I'm going to butcher this last name, but I think it's called Bosserhain. I think. I know I'm probably butchering her name. I'm sorry, Erica. But she's going to be on my show tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Well,
I noticed you talked about her, but one thing you forgot to mention, some of the local law enforcement, including the FBI, she told them where deceased bodies were. And
I thought I put that in there, but maybe, you know what, maybe I did leave that out, but I thought I put that in there. Yeah, she has helped law enforcement. Yes, she has.
Yeah, she's a very interesting and cool guest to have on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I am really excited to have her on. I'm excited for myself. I just love to hear what she's got to say. She's in her own words, she's known as the Oprah of the paranormal.
Oh, yeah. So everybody, what time is it tomorrow for people can tune in? How can they find you on Facebook?
You can find me through my group, Spiritual Paranormal, and it's a public group. And at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, just come in there, look for me in the video, tap on it, and you're in live.
Oh yeah, she was telling me like one of the things. She was over in this old plantation, and she got out of her car, and it was a gentleman that was hanging from a tree. Now, not hung recently, like hung back around 1860s. And he told her, don't come here. They'll hang you too.
Oh my. Wow.
Yeah, so...
I got you. Yeah, my goodness. Wow.
So she talks to the dead, or the dead talk to her. I don't know if I had that gift, I would. That's one type of gift I really wouldn't want. Could you imagine you're sitting there eating dinner, and all of a sudden somebody tells you, "Hey, I was killed by my boyfriend. And this is how he killed me. He killed me with a hatchet. I am, over in the woods, over somewhere near such and such, and I need your help." I don't know if I can emotionally handle something like that.
I got to tell you something. It's heavy stuff. I've had spirits come to me sometimes and tell me not like that, but I've had them. I've had conversations with them before. It can get heavy. You've got to learn to try to block it out and process it and deal with it. But I'm going to tell you something. Yeah, if you've never experienced it, and then all of a sudden one day after 40 years it happens, I couldn't imagine dealing with it like that. That's just, it can be heavy for sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now, did you ever figure out how to get your audio quality up a little bit louder?
I'm still working on that, but I am going to. I don't know if it's that one room, but I did move. I'm going to move